Welcome to Bread and Butter, the show looking behind the scenes of the food and drink business. I'm Wendy Hargreaves, and Bread and Butter is brought to you by Aussie tech company Hungry. It's been a rough year for the food and drink industry in Australia. That's a complete understatement. With just 2 sleeps till Christmas, we're leaving the doom and gloom of 2020 behind us and getting our festive on today. From perfect ham to show-stopping pavlova, along with some seriously good sweet treats from celebrity pastry chef Pierrick Boyer, who'll be joining me in the studio very soon. We'll also cross to an Aussie chef in Bali, where authorities have gone full Grinch and banned all Christmas and New Year's celebrations to keep COVID numbers under control. Chef and restaurateur Dean Keddell will tell us why he's certain that Bali will bounce back even better than it was before. But first, it's time to talk booze. After all, it is silly season, and today I'm going straight for the top shelf with Australia's most respected drinks writer, Max Allen. He's an award-winning author who writes about drinks in the Australian Financial Review and other respected publications. Now, I have to admit to being a bit of a Max Allen fangirl because I've been reading his reviews for years. So I'm absolutely stoked to welcome him to the studio here today. Welcome to Bread and Butter.
It's lovely to be here.
Now, you must cop this every silly season. As soon as we go into summer holidays, Christmas, New Year's happening.
Yeah.
What's the drink of the moment this year?
I reckon the drink of the moment this year is the best bloody bottle you can afford. Don't you reckon? Don't you reckon we all deserve to really treat ourselves this year?
Yeah.
I mean, I think I wrote about this at the beginning of the pandemic. Like, you know, life's too short. You know, everybody's got that special bottle tucked away, you know, at the bottom of the wine rack or at the, you know, wine rack on top of the fridge, whatever it is. Drag that out. Drink that
what's
special.
Yours?
Oh,
yours?
Mine. Oh, I tell you what I'm going to be drinking this year. Somebody gave me a beautiful bottle of Wendy Shiraz. Do you know Wendy? It's a vineyard. No, not a vineyard in Ballarat. Not that there's anything wrong with vineyards in Ballarat. No, Wendy is a Clare Valley vineyard in South Australia. And it's just like a little magical slice of Australia. It's, you know, beautiful red soil, gum trees fringing the vineyard, 100-year-old vines. Nothing tastes like wine from Wendy. That's what I'm going to be drinking this Christmas. And sparkling Shiraz.
Oh, you've got to have the sparkling Shiraz.
You've got to have sparkling Shiraz.
Have you got a favourite?
Right?
Because there are really bad headache-inducing sparkling Shirazes as well.
There's really bad headache-inducing booze all over the place, right? Not just sparkling Shiraz. One of the other things we do at Christmas, special occasions, I like to put wines on the table that have a meaning for people around the table. My brother-in-law's name is Joseph. There's a brand called Joseph, so we always have Joseph Sparkling Red on Christmas Day. It's a real tradition.
Oh, that's a lovely tradition.
Yeah.
So like going for the Melbourne Cup form guide, just go for the name that means something.
Remember 20 years ago, and every other Melbourne Cup winner had a booze reference,
yes.
Vintage crop, you know. Yeah, for a while we made lots of money, and then we realised what a nightmare horse racing is and stopped.
Now, I'm feeling very lucky to have you here now that you're fresh from this ridiculously big Wine Communicators Award for your new book.
Yes.
And for your column in the Financial Review.
Yeah.
So tell us about your new book.
So the new book is called Intoxicating, 10 Drinks That Shaped Australia.
And I don't know if the camera can see this, but it really does make you quite cross-eyed when you look at
it. It does,
out
doesn't
of focus cast.
And so this is a history of drinking in Australia, or a history of Australia told through drinks. And one of the most interesting drinks in there is called Wayalina, which is an indigenous fermented drink from Tasmania, from the fermented sap of the cider gum tree.
So this means that the French and the Italians can all go jump, that we've actually got a much longer fermented drink
We
history.
have a tradition of drinking alcoholic fermented drinks in Australia that dates back, we don't know how long, tens of thousands of years. From Western Australia to Tasmania to Queensland to the Northern Territory, not everywhere, but you can find examples in the historical record and still from talking to Aboriginal people today of people drinking fermented drinks, which is just like, when I found that out 15, 20 years ago, it just blew my mind. And I really felt like I had to write about it as the first chapter of a book.
Oh, it's a great way to start. And what other surprises have you found in Australian booze?
That almost everything that we think is new has been done before, right? That is, you know, now there's 500 craft breweries around Australia. We think that's a new thing. You go back 100 years, there were 500 breweries around Australia, you know? Mm-hmm. It's only that we went through the 20th century. We think that spirits are new in Australia, this whiskey thing, the whiskey boom. You go back not that far to the 1940s, which when you're my age doesn't feel like that far. And Australia was was the biggest producer of whiskey in the Southern Hemisphere. We forget this stuff,
Yeah.
you know?
It's like industrialisation just sort of wipes our memory. You've also been looking at Australia's cider history in another really cool guide, actually, because I'm really learning about cider. I think most of it, in my experience, has been disgusting.
And it can, again, there's good drinks and bad drinks everywhere you go. And a lot of cider out there, as I make the point in this, is made from water and sugar and apple juice concentrate. It's not really cider, right? But there's also hundreds of Australian producers of what they're calling craft cider, because it's made from 100% Australian grown apples and pears, which all cider should be made from real fruit.
Yeah, that's right.
And again, you go back into history, cider has been made in this country since the beginning of
apple trees
invasion. That's right. 1788, Bligh planted some trees on Bruny Island, apple trees on Bruny Island. Goes back that far. Cider would have been on the first fleet.
Wow.
Because they used to give it to people because they thought it warded off scurvy. So we've had this cider history that comes and goes. We're in the middle of the kind of tail end of a modern boom at the moment. Go back a generation, nobody was drinking cider. A generation before that, it was hugely popular.
Oh, well, you're very cutting edge and fashionable, aren't you, to be on the edge of all of this?
That's the first time that somebody's called me cutting edge and fashionable. Thank you, Wendy.
Well, it's been an absolute pleasure having you in the studio. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
And best of luck with your new book. Where can people find it?
If I say all good bookshops, it is true, all good bookshops.
Yeah, all good bookshops.
Thank you.
Have a great silly season.
And you.
That was Max Allen, who knows more about Australian booze than anyone could possibly remember. So look out for his new book, Intoxicating, on the shelves of all the good bookshelves. Good bookshops. I will get that out. Now we're skipping straight to dessert, and not just any dessert. I'm talking about my all-time favourite Christmas sweet, the mighty pavlova. I thought my dear mother-in-law Shirley made the best in Australia until I discovered Melbourne's Pav Queen, who honed her meringue skills in lockdown and delivers truly excellent pavs to your door. You can imagine how busy she is right now with just 2 sleeps till Christmas and orders up to her neck, but she's agreed to step away from the Mixmaster just for us. Welcome to the Bread and Butter Show, Nerida McPherson.
Hello, Wendy. How are you? Thanks for having me on.
Oh, look, it's absolutely my pleasure. Now, are you up to your elbows in egg whites right now?
Look, there's my mum, who I've roped in. And look, there's my bestie. And it's just a whole family shebang today.
Fantastic. So this started as a lockdown hobby, making pavs for your mates. So can you believe that it's turned into a fully fledged business that's now operating out of one of Scott Pickett's restaurants?
Yes. Well, look, honestly, if someone had told me a little while ago that I would be making pavlovas for other people to eat, when I had never made one before in my entire life until the beginning of the second lockdown, I would have said, you are insane. So, the story came about because my work as a food journalist dropped right off, obviously, when all the restaurants closed and everything happened with COVID. And I basically had to do something else with my day rather than sit around crying and feeling sorry for myself. So I made a pavlova for a girlfriend for her birthday, and I had never made one before. And my backside is made of cheese and chips. I'm really not a sweet tooth at all. So I just had no interest in desserts. And I thought, I'm going to, make one for her and nail it. So I made about 8, and they were epic fails. And I thought, I can't let meringue beat me on top of everything else this terrible year. So I persisted. And then when I felt confident that I'd made sort of one that I was happy with, I sent it off to my friend in an Uber. She said it was the best pav she'd ever had. And I thought, well, you're just being kind because you're my friend and you love me. And then she put a photo on Instagram. And by the end of the week, I had 35 random people saying, oh my gosh, I love pav. Could you please make me one? And I thought, sure. So I dug my beautiful mum out and said, come on, out of isolation you go. We're busy. And my 19-year-old daughter, who's just had a wisdom tooth out, so she's not here today, but she is also helping us out. And as I said, roped in, beautiful people like Deb to help as well.
Oh, look, it's fantastic, Nerida. Yeah. Honestly, I love the way that lockdown has created these really fabulous new businesses that are just flying, even out of lockdown. And what I also love is that nothing goes to waste at your business. You take your broken Pavs and put them in jars. I just think it's the best idea ever.
Well, I've actually made you taste test everything just to make sure I'm on the right track. So thanks for being one of my guinea pigs. But yes, just backing up a little bit though, Wendy. Obviously, I couldn't keep making these Pavs from home because dogs, teenagers, probably be shut down in 2 seconds flat. And punching out the numbers was just not feasible. And then beautiful Scott Pickett, who's got, Estelle and Long Grain and just open Chancery Lane, very graciously and very generously offered me the use of his restaurant here, Lupo, in Collingwood, which is closed for now. So we've been coming in here and making them and using his ovens and everything like that, which has just been so amazingly generous and lovely.
He is a great man. He's been on this show, and he's a very generous bloke, and I wish him all the success with his many new businesses. Yes. He seems to open something new every week. Now tell me also, as far as the waste goes, you're doing great things with using up egg whites from a bakery. Yes. And then using up your egg yolks to make lemon curd, which is a great idea.
Yes, so I had all these yolks because obviously you go through hundreds and hundreds of egg whites to make all these pavlovas. And exactly as you just said, I hate any waste. So I started making lemon curd using lemons from a friend's tree. It's very tasty, I have to say. And people are buying those jars. And I'm also, every now and then I make sort of a pavlova that's not good enough to go out. It's a bit too cracked up. So I'm making delicious smashed pav in a jar, which is a bit like an eaten mess. And I'm asking all of my customers to bring a jar when they come and pick up their pav so that, the jars just keep on being recycled.
So let's cut to the chase. How do people order one of your pavs, Nettie?
Please don't order one for Christmas Eve, which is tomorrow, because we are actually already booked out. But we're doing them for New Year's. We're doing them all year round. Their birthdays, any occasion is a good occasion for a pav. So they can jump on the website, which is www.pavqueen.com.au, and Instagram is pav.queen. So,
well, on that note, you are the Pav Queen Nerida McPherson. Thank you so much for your time today, and best of luck. Same to you.
Thanks, Wendy. Bye.
Bye. That was Nerida McPherson, Melbourne's very own Pav Queen. Now we're crossing from the Queen of Pavs to the King of Pastry and any other number of sweet treats. I'm talking about Pierrick Boyer, the celebrity chef behind the fast-growing Reverie Cafe group. And he's right here with me in the studio, which I'm very excited about because I think he's brought some treats. Yes. Welcome, Pierrick. How are you?
Good, and you?
Very Excellent. Well, thank you. So this must be crazy time for you at this time of year. Everyone's going to parties.
Yes.
So how do you survive?
Yes, it's quite busy, and we've got a great team, and everybody's working hard. And with that interesting year we all had, everybody's give their best, and that's what it is.
So how did you go in lockdown? I seem to be that people were seeking out comfort food like cakes and pastries more than before.
That was interesting. The first 2-3 weeks, all over the place, everybody shut down. I started to go crazy. And what we decided, my business partner and I, to reopen in Prahran and Doncaster, because Ella in the city is CBD is it's pretty unique. It's not open yet. It's very interesting. But we had to change, and we had to do a lot of deliveries, which kept us afloat during this time. Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, so you became more of a logistics company than a
delivering every day. Yes. Well, you had to adjust. And I think no matter who you are, you have to adjust your business and do your best.
Will you keep going with the deliveries?
No, too busy in stores for me or my business partner to go on deliveries. We use a third app party, but again, it's quite expensive, and it's a fee plus $1 per kilometer. So if they want to pay, that's fine. But otherwise, yeah.
So what have we got here? Show us what we
have. So
this looks extremely, whenever I see a Reverie box, oh goodness.
So pavlova, that's the first time that I've done, and that came the idea of I wanted something very pistache fraise in French. It's a good, good combination. And I wanted to do a strawberry pistachio pavlova.
Can we see this, guys? It's pretty
so
amazing.
It's gluten-free because we have a gluten-free sponge with an homemade praline pistachio paste in the bottom to soak the moisture, the flavor of the pistachio.
Oh, so you're really lifting Nettie's traditional Pav Queen here. This is next level pavlova.
I don't want to do traditional. I always a little bit outside the box, but not too much. Homemade, caramelized. So we put it to temperature where it cooked, but as well we like that caramelized little meringue bits. So we have some unsweetened cream because the sugar from the meringue, and we have some pistachio white chocolate chantilly with an insert of strawberry jelly with very little gelatin. So when you cut it, you'll have a strawberry jelly in the middle and some strawberry jelly on top.
So this is made for Australia Day, right?
But that's a business partner idea. I came up with a concept, but let's call it a summer cake. So we'll have it all the way through January and probably February. Because it's on the top of the orders this year.
I bet.
Yeah.
So what process do you go through to come up with a combination like this?
Well, pistache fresh, strawberry pistachio is a bit of a key in France combination of flavors, and I haven't done that I think ever before. And I was like, well, let's do that. And pavlova came in, and that cake came in. So I'm quite happy. It's good.
So you make the most ridiculous sweet creations, and if you can lift this one up, so that we can see it at home, because it's just beautiful. So what is it though that you like to eat? Like you're surrounded by all this stuff all the time. Are you a sweet tooth?
Oh, look at me! I think I'm a sweet tooth.
Welcome.
That does the talking. Basically, whatever is in the shop, savory, sweet. Pastries, I try them at least once, and I like those, so I try. There's nothing that goes in the shop that I don't like.
Wow.
That's simple.
And you've got 3 venues now.
4, but at the moment negotiating to reopen Ella in the city.
At Melbourne Central.
Melbourne Central, so yes.
Is it going to be more?
Depending on what's the offer. I think a lot of real estate agent contact me. Let's see if it's a good deal enough to open. We know in the industry that only the very top of the creme de la creme do really well. The majority is extremely hard, from the labor to the rent to the food cost and everything. It's not an easy business, definitely. So for us, the way we are set up, we need to open a few more stores because we make everything fresh in Prahran. We've been using free-range egg for years, free-range meat, local product. That's why that I wanted to talk about all our freshly made pastries, because this one is pineapple and custard. I mean, seriously, look at that.
Oh, look out. We have a Frenchman in the house, and I know that the entire Ticker crew is now salivating to get their teeth into this.
The almond croissants surpass our croissant sales. That's how much we're selling. My personal favorite is the pain au chocolat with hazelnuts.
On that note, we're going to have to keep going, but we definitely need to have a little meeting after the show to discuss the flavour profiles of your dishes here. That was pastry chef Pierrick Boyer, the creative force behind Reverie Cafe. Now, at my place, it wouldn't be Christmas without baking a giant ham for Christmas and then eating it in toasties and whatever else I can think of for the next month. So here to help us with some ham tips is Mitch Edwards, the GM of Business and Innovation at Australian Pork. Welcome to Bread and Butter, Mitch.
Thank you for having me, Wendy. I thought I'd bring a prop too.
Excellent. Now, people might recognise you also as the Mitch half of the Mitch and Mark team on Channel 9's Block. Have you recovered from being a blockhead?
Well, I have. I used to be Mitch. Now I'm Mitch and Mark.
Do you think it'll never change, will it?
No, we're now a duo for life, but that's good. We kind of get on well, so it's all good.
Now, back to the ham, because that's what everyone's talking about at this time of year. What should people be looking for in their Christmas ham?
Well, people should be looking for Australian ham for a start, but when it comes to Christmas, it's pretty darn easy because people are buying generally a ham on the bone that they're going to either just slice straight off the bone, or they're going to do a lovely glaze to make it the centerpiece of their table. But when it comes to Aussie ham, there's someone having a ham now. When it comes to Aussie ham, if it's on the bone, you can be assured that it is an Australian ham, because we don't import pork on the bone to make hams with. But when it's boneless, you need to actually check. Christmas time, no worries, they're all Aussie, and they're all about joy. But throughout the year, majority of ham available is made from imported pork. So we just
Which is a real worry, isn't it? Like that people are buying sliced ham from the supermarket and most of it comes from overseas, where we have no idea about how their little piggies are being treated. So the best way to know is to look closely at the label.
Yeah, look at that little bar chart with the kangaroo on it. Look at the bar chart. If it's over 90%, you can be sure that it's Australian. If it's under 90%, you can be sure that it's made from imported pork. And I think after COVID, we are more than ever wanting to buy local products and support our local farmers. So never has it been more important to support Aussie farmers or anything to do with Aussie. We've got to look after ourselves, I think.
Now, is there anywhere people can go to for more information on making sure they buy Australian pork when they're going out to get their leg this Christmas?
Well, there's a whole lot of information on pork.com.au with some great recipes. But basically, when you're buying a ham on the bone, you can be certain that it's made from Australian pork. Or if you're buying ham that's not on the bone, just look for the little bar chart and make sure it's over 90%. So you can be supporting not only Aussie farmers, but having the freshest, most beautiful, juicy Aussie ham to be the centerpiece of your Christmas table.
Fantastic. Well, on that delicious note, thank you so much for your time, Mitch, and have a great Christmas with Mark and your family.
Thank you, darling. You too, darling. And Nerida, if you're still listening, I want one of those pavlovas.
Now, that was the always entertaining Mitch Edwards from Australian Pork. Now, as we count down to the end of the year and heading into 2020, we really do want to see the back of this past year. We're all hoping the latest COVID hotspots in Sydney stay under control so we can celebrate Christmas and New Year in a relaxed way. Of course, it's a much gloomy situation in other countries. In Bali, where tens of thousands of Australians would normally take their Christmas and New Year holidays, authorities have decided to ban all Christmas and New Year celebrations to control the growing number of COVID infections. Within 2 days of last week's announcement, 133,000 people cancelled flights into Bali. Australian chef and restaurateur Dean Keddell runs 2 restaurants in Seminyak, and he joins me now. Welcome to Bread and Butter, Dean. How are you?
Hello, Wendy. Thanks for having me. It's nice to be home, even if it's only virtual.
You look great. Now, Bali relies so much on tourism. So what's it been like there in 2020 without visitors?
It's amazing. It's been like a ghost town, actually. I mean, the positives, I guess, are the pristine beaches and the no traffic, but the effects are quite dire, to be really honest.
So were you counting on having guests in your restaurants this Christmas and New Year as a bit of a fill-up after a bad year?
Yeah, there was a big promotion done by the Indonesian government. They brought in Instagrammers and influencers, and they spent a lot of money they realized that there would be no international tourists, so they really focused on the domestic tourists. So the hotels all get up, the restaurants all get up. We basically used our funds that we had left for a big relaunch, and it just fizzled 2 days before everyone was due to arrive. I mean, the government's doing what they can, and it's an uncertain times for everybody, I'm sure. So we now have to focus on the positive, I guess, and move forward that way.
So you would employ a lot of Balinese people and find out, and see what's actually happening over there. How from your perspective, how's it impacting the Balinese people?
there's nobody here. There's a few expats that have stayed, but most of the people, even the foreigners that own businesses here, had all left as well. So it's tough. It's really tough times, and that's my inspiration for the book. If I may talk about that for a second.
Of course.
So I've started a book called My Bali, Our Bali, and it was to involve my staff. It started out as an idea just to help them, and then it grew bigger and how to help the broader community. So I started with an idea of asking my staff what their favorite dish was, and it opened a whole floodgates of memories and emotions. And I went to their families' houses. The families cooked for me. We talked about the oranges of the dishes. I had one person, for instance, who cooked a favorite dish, not of his, but of his mother's. And his mother passed away a year ago. So he told me that when he cooks this dish, he feels his mother's warmth. So the emotion from what I thought was just going to be a cookbook was incredible. From there, I went to...
And you're doing it all for a great cause as well, which is the best part about it.
Well, 5 charities are involved. I have the Bali Children's Foundation, I have the Scholars of Sustenance, I have the Royal Foundation, Bali Wise, East Bali Poverty Project, and the Bali Wildlife Rescue Centre. So there's so many amazing charities involved, and there's so many amazing people behind these charities. And normally, obviously, they would rely on tourism also to generate funds for what they need to do.
Well, this sounds like a silver lining for you, like that you've had the time and the brain space to come up with a really beautiful book. Are there any other silver linings that you've seen in this quiet time for an Aussie in Bali?
The book has been what's kept me going. It's been what's kept my staff going. The book was challenging to write it, but it's a whole lot more challenging to market it. It's something completely different. On the other side of things, the Bali government understand now that this downtime is good, so we can focus on fixing infrastructure, ensuring we move forward with a greener future, and also to focus firmly on the Balinese culture. After all, people come to Bali to experience Bali, and it may seem silly, but culture sometimes gets lost. So it's a good time to stand back and reflect on everything, I guess.
So for the many Australians that call Bali their second home, or at least their holiday home, what can we do to help?
Please buy a book. And if you don't have the funds to buy a book, I completely understand, but maybe ask your friends or your family to buy a book. It's available on a platform called Shaft, and if you search for Bali Needs Our Help, it will come up. Otherwise, there's an Our Bali, Your Bali Facebook page and Our Bali, Your Bali Instagram page, so you can get links from that will take you directly to the book. My Facebook page is I'm overwhelmed with the comments and the messages I get from Australia, from Australians missing their second home, Aussies waiting to come back. Another thought behind the book was, if the Aussies can't come here, let's take Bali to them. So there's a little bit of Bali in this book for everybody who buys it. So yeah, I think so.
Thank you so much for your time, Dean. I really do wish you the best of luck with everything that's happening over there. It's going to be a wild ride for a few months yet. So I wish you the best of luck in coming through the other side. And congratulations on the book.
Thank you so much. We'll keep in touch. Thanks very much.
That was Dean Keddell, chef and restaurateur at Ginger Moon and Jackson Lilies in Seminyak in Bali. You've been watching Bread and Butter, broadcast live from the Ticker Studios in Richmond. I'm Wendy Hargreaves, and thank you for tuning in. I'd also like to thank our major sponsor, Hungry, for taking a chance on a brand new show in the middle of lockdown. You've stuck with us, and we really appreciate it. I'll be back with more news and views on the food and drink industry next time. Until then, stay safe and eat well.
Stream us live on the Ticker app, Apple TV, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube and tickertv.com.au. Ticker, streaming news now.